Hi, and welcome to A Yarn Story. My name is Carmen.
My name is Amanda.
It is not Kayleigh. As you will know if you are a regular watcher / listener, Kayleigh's working on her PhD this month, and so we are letting her do that, so I'm a special guest.
Special guest.
You are a special guest.
Well, yes, I know. I don't come very often.
Yeah, guest appearance.
Guest appearance, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I've got, a guest appearance and it's just you and me.
Yes.
So that's,
It's good.
That's good.
Yes, because we have had Amanda on before with Susan, because Kayleigh and I got in trouble, you might remember.
We've forgiven them, don't worry. We came and said our piece.
Yes, so I'm excited to have you on though, because it's always lovely to chat yarn and other things with you. But we're going to get started with our normal.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, which you forgot that we did.
Because I'm not actually going to have to drive today, so I can taste the drink rather than sip and say, no, that's it, can't have any more.
Right, so I have brought a red wine today.
Good.
It is a Topico Tempranillo Syrah, or Syrah, I don't actually know how you pronounce that correctly, but that is the bottle. It is not focusing on camera, so who cares? It's got a really pretty, sort of watercolor looking floral.
I must admit, the labels these days are getting really pretty.
Yes.
And it's very difficult not to choose a wine because of the pretty label.
It's true. Actually, Jody, who we work with on some graphic design stuff, mostly designs wine labels. And some of the stuff she does is stunning. Yeah. It's like real artwork on the bottle.
No, I do like it. I do like it.
That's very pretty. So that's all in Spanish. Let's see. A topic is like a best moment when you open and taste an excellent bottle of wine in company of your best family, closest friends, or the ones who you love. This is the reason that we have made red Topico, fruity, smooth, pleasant, and well-balanced, of which aroma is intensive, fleshy red fruit, of which taste is long and elegant. I love that was not given to a translator. Yeah. like an official translator. Yeah. I love the charm of that, actually. So yeah, it's from Spain. It's a 2022 vintage.
Probably a good year.
Yeah, it's vegan.
Right.
And I think this is from a Good Pairs Days box. And one of the reasons I brought it is because it's a screw top. Oh, yeah. Which is just easier to open for the podcast. Yeah, since you're not driving, you may drink as much or as little as you want today.
Obviously, I'm working tomorrow, so I'm not going to drink too much.
Oh, that's tomorrow's problem.
That's tomorrow's problem, exactly. Right, sniff. Full body.
Yeah.
Yeah, smells good.
Ooh, I feel like this is going to be nice in 15 minutes when it's like breathed a bit.
Yeah, I think actually it's not too cold.
No, but I think it just needs to breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
It is a little bit, which is weird. It was in my flat. Like, it wasn't...
Yeah.
It was just out. It should be room temperature. I only carried it about,
Yeah. It's quite light. So it's not a heavy red.
No.
I think it would go very nicely with some cheese.
Yes. I feel like Kayleigh would tell us all about the grapes and
I can't tell you anything about grapes. I think they were red. Or black.
Yes. Are you more of a red or a white wine drinker?
It's one of those things. I like red wine in the winter.
Yes.
And I like white wine in the summer.
No.
And a little bit of rosé in between.
Okay. So you're like a moody drinker.
I'm a moody drinker. I do like, on a dark evening, a nice bottle of wine and crisps and dips.
Crisps and dips.
I
didn't bring any of that. Well, it's hard to munch.
Yeah, that's true.
For the audio.
Yeah. It's not. We're not here for a cocktail party.
Well, we can be.
We can be, but
you do like a cocktail too.
I do like a cocktail. I like to experiment with flavors.
You do like to experiment with flavors. This is very true. I feel like maybe we need to do I know you introduced yourself a little bit in the last episode, but maybe like a longer introduction so people know who you are, what you're all about.
What I'm all about. Okay. We said I'm Amanda. I've worked with Carmen for coming up to 9 years.
Yes. It's a very long time.
It is a really long time actually, but it's gone by just like that. It really has. I can't believe it's that long.
I know.
I mean, I only work in the shop a couple of days a week, but I do quite a lot behind the scenes of, designing things using lovely yarn.
Yes.
And working at the retreats, and used to do a lot, teaching at the workshops that we used to do here. Background in knitwear design, and just sort of, I've spent most of my life designing and writing patterns, and now I feel I'm stepping back and just sort of relaxing into doing what I want to do when I want to do it, which is really nice, and giving myself much more time to get things right.
Yes.
Which, which I never had before. So I would do something and it would have to go off to whatever, and I'd think, oh, actually, if I could have just changed that. But now, if I'm not happy with it, I unpick.
Well, do you want to talk a little bit about what it's like to work as a designer for publications?
Yeah.
For like traditional publications.
Okay. Most of my working career has been for magazine work.
Yeah.
So the brief would come through. Some would send a mood board. Others would just say, right, we want this using such and such a yarn.
Okay, just to interrupt a little bit. So you mean like the monthly publications?
Yeah, these are monthly publications.
In like W.H. Smith's.
Yes. Yeah.
In the grocery store. Yeah.
The knitting magazine.
Knit Now. Those sites. Yeah. Okay.
So I mainly did work for the Knitter and Knitting magazine, and Simply Knitting, which before the Knitter came around. So I would be given a mood board or not, and then I would send my designs. I'd do some designs and send them off and come back and say, yes, we'll have that one or that one. And then I would have to make it up, make up the garment to the design and write the pattern, and then send the pattern and the garment off. Now, all this had to be done in a very short space of time. So
what did they give you?
Well, it was usually about 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks.
That's fast turnaround.
Well, it is when you're doing, more than one design.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there would be 3 or 4 designs. So I did have somebody who knit for me.
Okay.
Lovely Shirley.
So shout out to Shirley.
Shirley, who was the speediest, quickest knitter on the planet, and it was great because I would just take the work to her, and 2 days later she said, "Oh, I've got to this point," and I'd always go and check, and she was on my school route. Okay. So when I went to pick my children up, conveniently, because she did like to chat.
Okay.
So I'd have to say, I've got to go and pick the children up, so I've got, just pop in on my way.
Yeah.
Not on the way back, on the way. So time, got to go.
No one can argue with someone trying to pick up their kids from school.
No, exactly. So yeah, but they would just knit the things. I would then finish them off, and then deliver them to the magazines or post them, whatever. So it was good. It was good work. I had a lot of work.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, that was it. But the times, it got to the stage where I was just doing. It was very little actual designing. It was mainly because you do your designs and then that's it. You're then just writing patterns.
Okay.
And I love writing patterns. I don't mind. There was a formula that doing it all the time. You know what you're doing. I mean, I did make mistakes because I'm human, but I haven't, because I haven't been doing it for so long. I find it quite hard to get back into writing the patterns.
Well, and did the magazines all have like specifications that you were knitting to? They had a number of sizes or I don't know.
Yeah, no, they had the sizes. So we had to work to those sizes, and they did have a sort of a basic size chart that you work to. So you because as we all know, sizes vary and everything. Yes. So yeah, there were all those. But sometimes mine things came up a little bit big or a little bit small. So tension samples.
Very important.
Very important. Blocking. Very important.
Yes.
Some of the things I didn't actually always do. I hold my hand up. Sorry, anybody who's watching who I did work for. I didn't always block things. Well, yeah. Yeah, I didn't really I steam blocked.
Yeah, I'm not.
So it worked, but blocking, you know, I have since blocked some of the things that
You've like come around.
I'm definitely around.
Yes.
Because I have blocked things that I'd made.
Yeah.
And not blocked, and the difference is incredible. They actually fit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's amazing too. Yeah. Especially depending on the fiber content, right?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. That's the thing, but obviously, you know, some of the fiber content was not quite as lovely as it could have been.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So,
did you ever get to pick the yarn you want to knit with, or did they always give you?
No. It sometimes when I was working to a mood board, I would do a collection of designs.
Okay.
So then I would choose what yarns I wanted to use. But obviously the magazines they have to use certain yarns.
Right.
So, but you know, generally I could pick when it was a mood board, but other times when they just said, right, we need a jumper or something with flowers on it or whatever, then they would send me the yarn.
Okay.
So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Peaches is being very needy here.
What is it, Peaches?
Being very cuddly.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's down here off screen.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it was good. I mean, it was constant, so I was very lucky.
All right, so I have to ask the question that I'm going to ask because you know me.
Yeah.
But and I think it's one of those things that people make assumptions about.
Yeah.
When they hear I was a busy knitwear designer for magazines.
Yeah.
But were you earning a living that would have, you know, taken care of your family?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not. No.
You were a busy.
I was very busy.
Knitwear designer.
But no, it wasn't. You know, the pay was not brilliant. And it certainly wouldn't have. I would not have been able to sort of maintain a family, even you know, even on a sort of low level budget. So yeah. So I was lucky that I was married and didn't have to worry about that.
Well, I mean, yes, that's lovely for you.
Yeah, it's nice for me, but it's a shame that, you know, I think I haven't been doing magazine work for 9 years now, so hopefully things have improved. And I know that having done work for other publications since, the pay was much better.
Yeah.
And if I was doing it for those publications, then yes, maybe now I certainly could.
I mean, I think that's a great trend to see, because I think that's a discussion that comes up fairly cyclically within the industry, is like pay for designers, how much should a pattern cost, and there's a lot of different aspects to that.
Yeah. It's interesting actually, people's perception when you say you're a designer for magazines or whatever, or you just say you're a designer, they think, oh god, you know, you're in your ivory tower, you earn loads of money.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
It's not a reality at all. And you know, I did it because I love being creative, and you know, I love designing knitwear, always have done, ever since I was about 7, designing for my little teddy bears. And dolls, my Barbie dolls were the best dressed, I tell you. You know, I was doing raglan shaping, you know.
I never knit my Barbie dolls anything. I did sew them things.
Yeah,
but
they were a bit weird shaped, you know, but you know, there was a bit of raglan.
Poor
here.
Barbie.
Yeah, poor Barbie. I think she's had a chest reduction since. So.
I nearly spit my wine out there.
Yeah, but yeah, and you know, it being paid when I, you know, my first paycheck that came from my first design, I thought, oh my god, this is fantastic. I'm actually being paid to do something that I love doing. And you know, that was great. So I do it for the love of designing. You know, that was
that was your primary
that was my primary
focus.
Thing. Yeah.
But how do you feel about it, like if you were to start that career now? Well, because I obviously have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like a fair metric to create work under?
It's a funny one, because you think actually without the designer you don't have the magazine.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, so you know, but when I started doing it back in the late 80s, the designers were not. They did in quite a few of the publications. They didn't get any sort of, there was no design to buy. There was no recognition.
Okay.
So things have changed drastically in that today it's all about the designer. So if you have a designer like Andrea Mowry, you know, that's going to be good for your publication. Yeah. Whatever. But back then, the design, it wasn't about the designer. It was just about,
you were anonymous.
You were totally, totally. And you know, I did a book which for a big company, don't know if we can name them, but I did a book.
You are welcome to. We don't have any journalistic or BBC rules here about what we can and can't say.
Well, I did a book, Designs for a Book by Dorling Kindersley. Okay. And I think there were, I had about 10 designs in the book. Okay. And you have to get a magnifying glass out to see my name right at the bottom of the sort of the page. And, and I think, well, that is ridiculous, because actually without those designs, which actually I had the most ridiculous timescale to get them all out and the patterns written, they wouldn't have had the book. Yeah. So, and then they went on to do a second book with my designs. And again, no recognition, and you just think, well, you know.
Let's all get really pissed off on Amanda's behalf there.
I did, well, you know, I just...
And it's not just you, I know there's lots of designers with that kind of story, right?
There were other designers in the same boat, and you just think, oh, come on, you know, without us, you wouldn't have the book. Without us, your magazines, what would they be? They wouldn't be a knitting magazine.
Well, no, they'd be an advertorial.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that, and it would just be about yarn. So, you know, you have to think that, you know, they do need paying, but I think the magazine world is quite a difficult one at the moment for them.
Yeah, I mean, print in general has got to be tricky. Yeah. And I know those traditional magazines, I mean, all of them, like whether it's knitting or motorcycles, guitars, sports, they all run off of advertising. Yeah. That's really where they make their money, and then subscriptions is like secondary, at least traditionally speaking. But yeah, it's a question of, would they have those advertisers willing to pay that money to advertise if the quality of the content and the designs wasn't as good as it is?
Absolutely.
And it's very true. Okay, well, who is creating that? Who is making that happen? Who is making it an interesting publication?
I mean, I think the editors were obviously tied by their bosses as to finance, you know, the financial department. So, you know, I know that because they were all really lovely people, and you know.
We're not like
no,
bashing
not at all. Because
I
am very grateful to them. Yeah. Because it did give me an income. Yeah. And it was good, but well, the income wasn't that good, but you know, it was a good experience, and I always, you know, enjoyed working for them. But it was just, you know, you just think, oh, for goodness sake, for the amount of time that I've spent doing this, it's just not, you know, it's not cost effective really.
Well, no.
So, but actually, having said that, having somebody who did the knitting for me, okay, I had to pay them. Yeah. You know, I had to pay them to do the work, but it did mean that I could do more than one or two at a time. Yeah. So, you know, I had, at one point, I had quite a few people who knit for me. Yeah. So, you know.
Well, I mean, because that's the thing, it's slow fashion, right? Yeah. So and you are a fast knitter.
Fast knitter.
You're a very fast knitter.
Yeah. I mean, there were times when I had to unpick what, you know, what Shirley had done.
Sorry, Shirley.
Sorry, Shirley. And redo it. Yes. Because it wasn't quite, you know. Yeah. And it took, you know,
we've had to do that with the sample that we've gotten back in the shop before too, though. Sometimes, you know, right?
Yeah. Like, well, it was quite interesting when I was doing work, because before I was doing for the magazines, I was actually creating little hand knit collections and selling them. Yeah. So you have a pattern, you give it to 6 different knitters. Yeah. Oh, it was interesting seeing what came back.
I bet.
One was completely the wrong way. The pattern was completely the wrong way round. And I hadn't the heart to say, well, I did tell her. I said, because I walked in to pick up this thing, and it was completely wrong.
Oh no!
And I thought, oh, she's just spent ages knitting that, and she had just read the first row and just repeated the first row, instead of actually reading the whole pattern.
Read the whole pattern, people.
Yeah, read the whole pattern through before you start knitting, and then you'll know what you're doing. Yes. But actually, because it was so regular that she'd done it wrong, it was okay. I sold it as a completely different design.
This is a bespoke limited edition.
Bespoke, exactly. So, but also a lot of them didn't do their tension samples. So one medium size, I can see it now. It came out and it was extra, 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 extra large. It was so big, I couldn't sell it.
I mean, and this is why. And when people ask why we don't sell hand knit items, this is exactly why.
Exactly. Exactly. And you just think, oh my God,
it's hard.
It's so difficult. She did the time, but surely she could see the measurements were
not
not going to be working. But and she'd said that she was a average knitter. I checked people's samples before. I employed them. But it's like it in doing little collections like that sometimes was quite soul destroying.
Oh,
you just sort of think, oh great, I've got all these lovely things, and you go and pick them up, and I think somebody's cat sat on one of them and just sort of felt at it. It was, did that all padding stuff, which my cats do all the time. And another one, you just think, oh dear. But it was fun. I mean, those early days meant that I actually travelled quite a bit and used to sell my designs wherever I went.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, so I went to California, sold a collection, paid for my holiday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, somewhere in Santa Monica, they were selling my jumpers.
Amazing.
Well, they were all children's knitwear. So.
Well, I mean, adult knitwear is trickier.
Yeah, but it
still,
was good. It was good.
You were telling a story at the retreat, actually, because Amanda was teaching at the retreat a couple of weeks ago. If you want to learn how to knit a sweater that fits you perfectly, she's your girl.
I was so pleased. No, because it was a different style to the ones that we normally do.
Yes.
And it's one that I had sort of worked on and
was your own design.
I know. And day 3, they tried them on. And they fitted.
they did. I wasn't worried. I just want to.
Yeah. Well, they fitted and they were happy.
Good.
I hope. Hello, girls.
You were telling a story though about, I can't remember where it started, but how I think you were working in Harrods at the time. They wanted to buy a collection.
That's right.
Off of you.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Well, I was working in Harrods and in quite strange circumstances, but
what does that mean, Amanda?
Okay.
Let's define that.
I wasn't employed by Harrods.
Okay.
I was employed by Al Fayed himself.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Why?
Because my father was his personal helicopter pilot.
Sure.
So, which is great because it meant that I get my helicopter rides back to. Anyway,
knitwear designer, helicopter rider extraordinaire.
Yeah. So I was working in Harrods, and because he said, well, if you want to work here, come and learn the trade and work here. So I was doing that. I had all sorts of interesting events working there. So they weren't quite sure what to do with me because I wasn't actually, as I say, on the Harrods payroll. So I was working.
You were the helicopter pilot's daughter.
Exactly.
I love that.
So,
by the way, Amanda's dad is like a well-decorated military helicopter pilot before he went private.
Yeah.
Which is what pilots do, right? Like they all do that. They do their military service and then they are private pilots. That is who is flying like 90% of the airplanes in the world, right? Like,
so I met with Al Fayed and we talked about what I would like to do. Because he knew I was a designer. Yeah. Obviously my father had talked to him. Yeah. And so he said, okay, well, go and work in Harrods and see what you like to do.
Sure.
So I worked
not a bad place to get some work experience.
No. I worked in the press office, which was great.
That's cool.
That was cool. Read the paper all day.
Nice.
Cool. Then worked on promotions and things. And then I ended up in the children's department because that's where I was designing children's knitwear at the time.
Okay. Yeah.
And I must admit I found it quite difficult working on the shop floor.
Okay.
So I thought, right, okay, I don't really want to do this anymore. So I designed a collection and spoke to the buyers and they said, yes, bring it in, let me have a look and see. So I took in my designs and little swatches and things. And they said, yeah, really nice. We'd really like to buy these. So how much are you selling them for?
Yeah.
So I sort of had sold some designs to another children's shop nearby.
Yeah.
So I said, how much? And they said, no, that's far too much. We're expecting, something like half that.
Okay. Yeah.
And that half that would have meant that I would have paid them to have sold my things, because there's no way that I could have got them made up. They were hand knitted, made up, and sell them at a reasonable price. So I declined. I declined the
but like,
offer.
well done you for declining that, because I think there are a lot of people who find themselves in situations like that, and look at it as like, oh, I can't say no to this opportunity, but I put air quotes around that because like, what is that opportunity?
Exactly.
You're not making any money.
Exactly.
Exposure doesn't pay your bills.
No, it's like a lot of people,
Peaches.
People get asked if they would like their designs to be in such and such a thing, or used for something, but we're not going to pay you to do it. It's the prestige of having your work in that whatever. Which
is quite frankly bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, how, it's not the little fairies who make them up, it's people.
No.
So, so as I say, I
declined. Good for you.
And I then stopped working for Harrods.
Oh, well,
I fired and went off and did my own thing and sold to shops instead. Not many shops, and I wasn't, but it was good.
Yeah,
it was good. So yeah,
amazing. We started this conversation because you were saying you like having the time now when you're designing. So what is a design schedule or piece like? How does that process look for you now?
Now it looks that I have a yarn that I'm going to be using. Say Fluff.
I did not tell her to say.
No,
that.
She didn't tell me. But this is one of the things that I'm working on.
Yes.
So I should have had that little swatch sample downstairs.
Oh.
Well, we've shown it before. It was. It's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
So I made it up in the sample, and it looks fantastic. The idea looks beautiful, but there were certain things about it that I was not happy about. So I thought, I'm going to knit myself one anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it in colour blocks. So I knitted, I think we talked about it, and I showed it on the last one where I was invited.
Oh, yeah.
So
show that off.
Show it off. So it was this one. It's not quite finished. It's got one more sleeve to go. But I knit it, and to the pattern that I'd written.
Yeah.
And then I thought, it's just not right. It didn't sit on me properly. It wouldn't sit on anybody properly because the armholes were too deep. So it looked awful.
Yeah.
So having completed it, because I did complete it, I then unpicked the whole thing.
Life of a knitwear designer.
Exactly. I unpicked the whole thing and re-knit it, and I'm rewriting the pattern, and I am so glad I did, because it sits so much better.
It fits you really well.
Really well, and it will fit everybody really well.
Yeah.
And it's, and if it's worth doing, as I was having a conversation with some customers today about, if you're knitting something and you don't like it, then you don't have to continue.
You do not. No.
You can unpick it.
Yeah.
And
do that. Yarn for something else.
Exactly. Or start again and just get it right. So, which is what I have done, and I've just got to finish that. But also, well, we're on the subject.
Okay. Yeah. Show me.
Okay. So
Amanda said she had 3 projects on the go, which is super unusual for her.
Very unusual. I'm a monogamous. Even that big word.
Which is why it's so weird that she has so many knitting needles. Because she's a monogamous knitter with more needles than you can make shake a stick at.
Yeah, I know.
I saw you bought some more today. Actually,
that's because I needed DPNs, which I hate.
Okay.
But I needed them.
Okay.
To finish these mitts. Yeah, I know. I thought, oh God, Carmen's going to see that. She's going to see I bought more needles. But so these little mitts, which I've designed.
Yes.
Let's see that. So very pretty.
They're very pretty. We won't show them too close because
they're exactly.
They're for a thing coming up.
They're for a thing coming up. But this is actually
very nice.
They are looking nice, aren't they? This is actually the third.
Oh, is it?
Attempt. Okay. Because the process is, I have an idea. I sketch that idea. and then I start knitting it, and I think, actually, if I'd just done that in a different place, it would flow much nicer. So there's a little, little details that flow much nicer. And
the one I saw just had ribbing, didn't it? That was
no, that was there. That was there.
I'm just gonna see if I can fit into it. Oh, there's a little pinky there.
There's a little hole finger.
There's a little finger roll.
There's a little finger bit. Yeah, so it's got a little finger. But you see, I got to this point here. Well, I actually knit 2 fingers last night.
Okay, so
without
for the audio listeners,
yeah,
I have a mitten on now that Amanda's working on.
Yeah.
With a lovely pattern down the back of the hand, and there's one little pinky finger knit. So and you knit 2 more fingers last night.
2 more fingers last night.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the fact that this bit here, the pattern ended on a straight line. So I unpicked it.
Yeah.
And I've redone it so that they merge, and it's much prettier.
Oh, it is very pretty, yes.
Yeah. So which is what I would have, which I thought about doing, but then I think, is that going to be too complicated? But it's not actually.
It's very pretty.
So it just now it all sort of finishes it off.
I need some new mittens, so maybe I'll steal these. I was gonna say make them, but actually I'm just gonna
steal them. Yeah, exactly. So yes,
they're very nice.
Yeah,
I'll take my big fat hand out of here now.
Okay, I am doing them in a larger size as well. You see, that was the other thing.
Great, I'll steal those.
Steal those. That was the other thing. I knit the first one.
Yeah.
And suddenly thought, oh, I've got to grade this. I've got to do more than one size because this is, it's not going to work. So then I had to think, because this is the thing about designing, is that you have to think about how if you're having a pattern on something, how it's going to work.
Yes, pattern placement is very important.
Pattern
Not
placement,
everybody
and
thinks
also
about that.
Can it be graded?
Yes.
So sometimes you can do a pattern and it's just a one-off.
Yeah.
You can't grade it. So I had to sort of think of ways to incorporate another slight design feature into it, so that it can be graded into multiple sizes. Okay. So that's why that was glove number 2, and then glove number 3 was because I didn't finish off the top properly. It didn't go into a nice, clean design finish. Yeah. So now I'm very happy.
It's very pretty.
Yep.
I like it very much.
Yep. So yes.
The grading thing is actually, so we just started the Pressed Flowers Cal last week, and that is one of those patterns too that is the jump between sizes is quite big.
Yeah.
Especially on the cardigan because of the pattern layout of these flowers, right?
Yeah.
So she'll have worked quite hard to make the flower design work out, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But it does mean that the jump between some of the sizes is quite big, and we were having a conversation because for the shoulders to fit for a couple of people, the bust was it was going to be negatives on the bust, but jumping to the neck size was going to be far too big, and it's not one of those patterns where you could say, okay, well, cast on that size up here and then move to the other size.
No.
Because of what's going on in the design. So yeah, also just from a knitting perspective, some patterns aren't going to work as well on some bodies as others because of those design elements.
Well,
right?
this is it. It is very difficult. If you can incorporate something in it that means that you can expand the pattern or add, for example, on this mitt, I've added a rib up the side, so that's going to continue up the side of the finger and the thumb. So on getting bigger sizes, I can add more stitches into the rib, so it's not going to affect the actual pattern on the cuff or the hand.
You like to do clever things like that.
I know.
You've done that on there's another design where you did that on the sides.
Yes.
Of the sweater.
Yeah.
I can't think of which design that is at the moment.
No. It was on the Threadworks.
Oh yeah.
Or Twisted Tracks. One of those.
It was Twisted Tracks. I think,
yeah.
Which has a lovely cable pattern up the front and back, and then instead of trying to make,
well, some pattern repeats, just as you were saying with the pressed flowers, the pattern repeat on that obviously doesn't accommodate to go smaller, or you have to go 2 pattern repeats or 1 pattern,
it makes that grading not work, which is why you get big jumps between some of them, or some patterns just don't work as well on some...
But that pattern, it needs to, I think they couldn't really do anything other than what they've done by jumping the sizes.
Yeah.
But
well, it's the same with I'm looking at the Great Gingham, which is next to you. Do you want to pull that over here? So the Great Gingham is like looks like a traditional sort of plaid picnic blanket, right? Lovely. Like a gingham, right? And this is another one where she has clearly worked so hard on getting the pattern to match on like the raglan and stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's amazing. And it is graded and sized really well. It's something that Jessie May does really well. But it does, if I'm not mistaken, it jumps a bit more than other patterns might. And that's because of the like repeat and the design, right?
There's just so much into these designs.
I know,
now.
there really is.
There really is.
And I think some of it's really taken for granted because, like, if we're gonna go back to the money talk for a minute here, because I recently saw a conversation going on about pattern prices, and you know, lots of people don't want to pay for any patterns.
No.
You know, they want a free pattern. They expect the pattern to be free with yarn purchase. We see that in the shop sometimes. You know, yarn companies used to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
they had the design made so that they would sell the yarn.
Yeah.
And then the designer was anonymous, right? So like the yarn company put the pattern out. It doesn't really matter who actually did the work in the background. So historically, we come from a place of that in the industry. And we do have a bunch of independent designers, and it's very easy to become a knitwear designer and publish a pattern. Like it's a low barrier to entry on that. And where was I going this? Pricing. So there's a broad spectrum of prices, and you know, $3, $5, £5, £10. I'm seeing more patterns in the US being like $10, $12. A lot of people are getting upset about that on the one hand, and on the other hand, I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think that a sweater design that you've graded to like 9, 11, 13 sizes.
Exactly.
That you've had tech edited, that you have photographed, that you have done in layout, that you're providing pattern support for, like you're answering questions on, that should easily be that much money.
Yeah. Well,
right? It's a thing you can use over and over again.
Exactly. It's like sewing patterns, actually.
Yep.
I mean, they used to be £3 or £4, you know, back in the day. But now I've noticed that, you know, they're selling for £15.
Oh, sewing patterns can be like 25 or 30, right?
I'm starting at £15 for something. All right, I haven't bought many patterns recently, but you know, it's starting at £15, and that's only for 4 sizes.
Yeah.
So, you know, with a knitting pattern, you're talking, as you said, sometimes 13 sizes, which is such a brain ache.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to do it well.
It's a lot of work, and there is a lot of work in it. And, you know, I think people, as you say, because we have got all the internet and we are able to get patterns from all over, that people just do take it for advantage. You know,
they take it for granted, right?
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Take it for granted. I've been working in the shop today, so
have some more wine. I think, you know, that work that goes into a design and a well-written pattern is really taken for granted a lot. And I mean, I would love to see just the whole industry raise pattern prices to somewhere in the like $10 to $15 range, right? I'm talking in US dollars because if you look at Ravelry, which is a huge pattern database, that's all sold in US dollars, and that seems to be like leading the market. But you know, in order to like have an industry where we are supporting indie designers, indie yarn brands, smaller businesses, cottage industries and such, you know, like you have to be able to, you need to make money off of that, right?
Well,
in order to like keep designing, because you know, well, I have a husband, so I don't need to earn that much money. Isn't really,
it's not the right thing.
It's not the right answer. Yes. So, you know, the answer of, well, I have a husband, so it's okay that I couldn't have made a living to sustain my family, isn't actually.
That's not the right answer.
It's not the right answer.
No. I mean, it's ridiculous that I was working, or you know, and sometimes I would be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and not going to bed until 3 o'clock to finish a deadline. You know, and to get, because if I was knitting it, you know, myself, I'd have to get it there and I'd be sitting up until 3 o'clock in the morning, and this was before good television. Or
before Netflix.
Before Netflix, you know, or anything, box sets.
Yeah.
Which would be great now. But, you know, and then getting up really early to finish it off, to get it on deadline.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, crazy hours that get put into this. And, you know, as I said, I did it because I loved doing it. Mm-hmm. But actually, the reality of it was that when I was first starting, I had to have a job in a wine bar. Yeah, which is really hard work. To supplement my wage, because I was living in London.
Yeah.
To pay my rent.
Yeah.
So I was working in the evenings. I only worked in the evenings.
Yeah.
And, you know.
I mean, I'd be worried if you worked in the wine bar in the morning.
Well, this is true. It was open at lunchtime, but I didn't do lunchtime.
Lunchtime's fine.
Yeah. But, you know, doing evening work.
Yeah.
To pay my rent.
Yeah.
To be able to do my design work.
Yeah.
Which was my primary thing. And I did eventually...
And it was essentially full time. I mean, if you counted the hours, you were definitely doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it did get to the stage where I got to the stage where I thought, right, I'm going to have to stop working in the wine bar because I want to continue. I need to do my work.
Well, we had an interesting conversation about this a couple weeks ago as well.
Yeah.
Because what happened when you left the wine bar?
I got more work.
You got more work, right?
I got more work. I was able to do more work. Yeah. And which is crazy, really, because I was working in the evenings in the wine bar.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know, it
splits your focus, right? And it drains you.
Yeah.
So we were having this conversation about, you know, sometimes you hold on to doing something that feels safe and easy, and when you finally let go of it, even though it's really scary, the world opens up to you in the ways that it's supposed to. Yeah. And so for you, that was leaving the wine bar and actually more on knitwear.
And focusing more on the knitwear. And at that point, this was pre-marriage and family, it suddenly did actually, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it did work. It did work. But, when I got married and had children. And they sapped my inspiration constant. Not that marriage, but the children.
I'm not sure that they'll love you.
No, I'm sorry, children, but I loved you. But, you know, that's the way of human body saying, right, concentrate on your children.
Yeah.
Because they're only, you know, it was only sort of, I think, 8 years when I was out of the industry.
Yeah.
Bringing up children to school age.
Yeah.
That, you know, I just could not design.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything. So
your brain was just full of other things.
It was full of, trying to feed children.
Yeah.
We didn't like food.
That's
another story.
It's another story. You'll probably hear that if you come to a retreat sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Well, I don't know. I think your career is fascinating, and I think it's. I think
I wouldn't have done anything different. There was an opportunity when I met Al Fayed.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, he did say, would you like to go and work in one of my design studios? Because he'd just bought the house of Chloe.
Oh.
In Paris. Mm-hmm. But I thought, I can't go to Paris. I don't speak French. So I didn't go. So who knows?
Well, you probably wouldn't be on this podcast right now had you gone to work for Chloe in Paris.
Yeah, but that wasn't knitting. That was
just
sewing. Okay. Dressmaking, because I used to do that as well.
You do like that as well?
Yeah. But, anyway, another story. Another life. But no,
I'll have you back.
Yeah,
thanks. Tell more stories.
Yeah, I wouldn't have changed anything, but it would have been nice to have been paid more.
Yeah.
So you know, if I'd been paid more, then that would have been great. But
I mean, I think it's part of the evolution of the industry, right? The industry is maturing. It's it's a different place than it was.
It is actually. Even the designs are different. Well, obviously the designs are different, but back in those days, I would take a portfolio to a yarn company or a magazine, and they would choose 3 or 4 designs.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't necessarily publish all those designs, but they would have them. And that was other thing.
It's like what happens in LA with script work.
Yeah.
Right? So lots of people sell scripts.
Yeah.
Like loads and loads of people sell scripts who are also having a day job as a waiter or something else. And it's because studios don't want someone else to buy the script.
Yeah.
So there's studios own just tons and tons of work that will never see
absolutely
the light of day or that will never get produced.
No, it's very true. Very true.
But we want to make sure that no one else is doing it.
exactly.
So yeah.
But yeah, no, it was interesting. But I'm quite happy now when I can do what I like.
Well, we love that you like design for us
Yeah.
and are here in the shop with me, and you know,
Yes.
come to retreats and
Come to retreats, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my other project I'm working on, my retreat
yes,
project.
your retreat project.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, but yeah, no, I enjoy the retreats. I think
We have a good time.
we do have a good time.
We have a very good time.
We really do. Yeah, they are good fun, and it's really nice when you get knitters together from all walks of life.
Yeah.
Some of them are very quiet and happy to go on doing their own thing,
Yeah.
and you know, but they all join in.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, they're all friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I mean, we've
you know,
had
it's
some
really nice.
incredible retreats where no one has known anybody
Yeah.
ahead of time, and they've gone on to be like the best of mates.
Yeah.
We've had retreats where lots of people know each other through different
Yeah.
avenues, and that's fun. Or they just see each other like once a year on a retreat, and
Yeah.
but we all have like things to share
Yes.
over our knitting.
Yeah. This is very true. This is very
And,
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Carmen's heard most of my stories now, but you know.
I enjoy them. We always have like a 5-hour drive to and from the
that's-
retreat as
yeah.
well.
This is true. This is true. Yeah, and there are no topics off limit.
No, we don't have a lot of secrets from each other either these
That
days.
is true. Yeah.
That's not this kind of podcast.
No.
Okay, let's talk about what we're actually wearing
Okay.
too before
Yeah.
we
Okay. All right.
finish our wine.
Shall I start?
You can start. Yes.
Okay. Well, I am wearing a slipover by Petitknits.
Mm.
You see, I actually
You actually did someone. Did you
someone
modify
else's.
it at all?
Well, I actually bought the V-neck pattern
Yeah.
and then decided actually I wanted a round neck.
Okay.
So I just modified it so it's a round neck. But she does this. It's the Stockholm
Yes.
slipover, and she does it. But I knitted it using Origin. And
Yeah, they
it's,
can't actually see what you're pointing
oh,
to.
sorry.
So Walcot Yarns Origin, which
Yeah.
Amanda was pointing to behind us.
I think it's called Wild River.
Yeah, I think we're out of stock of that color.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
spruce that I've got
Yeah.
green.
And then I held it together with some Isager Silk Mohair, and I
It's really gorgeous.
absolutely love a little frog brooch,
Frog brooch.
which I bought when I was on the retreat last week.
Yeah.
I love it.
So it goes perfectly on your
Yeah.
slip over, and especially
Yeah.
with your blouse.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, you know, I wear it with everything. I absolutely love it. So yeah, so that's what I'm wearing.
Yeah. And I have the Plump It Up shawl by Max the Knitter. This is one that Susan was knitting, but she knit it for the shop, so
Yeah.
I think I'm allowed to steal it.
That's your excuse.
This is, if it's in my shop, I get to steal it, is the rule. Yeah, so Shadow is the Fluff colorway, the like almost
It's
black.
held double, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Fluff is held with 2 strands with the Plump from Spincycle, which is a chunky yarn, and this is in Rosy Maple. So half of it has like the Plump sort of showing off on the front. It's like a slip stitch pattern, and then the other side of it has the Fluff as the dominant color.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, it's quite warm. I'll give it that. But it's not too big.
Oh, I can see now.
Yeah.
You can see it more on the back, actually. Well, you can see it on the front too.
You can see it on the front too.
Yeah.
So you've got the one side where you really see the gradient of the Spincycle, which in this case is like purples to reds to yellows to
Which looks
pinks.
beautiful on the screen.
It does look beautiful on the screen. Yeah.
I mean, it looks nice in real
Yeah.
life, but it just shows it really well.
Well, because you don't see, it kind of just shows you the blocks of color on the
Yeah.
screen. Yeah. And then the other end, because it has the Fluff on the dominant side, it's sort of like a little background of a gradient. It's very pretty. It's very clever.
He's
very
a good
fascinating.
designer.
He is a good designer.
He's,
I feel very fortunate to get to work with him.
yeah.
And we're going to see them
Yeah.
next week, actually,
Yeah.
because they are going to be with us in Farnham at the Maltings for Unravel. We will have lots of yarn for this,
Good.
because we have more Plump arriving this week, actually.
Oh, right.
There's more Spincycle arriving. Okay. Spincycle really should come with a warning label.
It should.
Like,
Addictive.
Addictive.
Highly addictive.
Highly addictive.
Yeah. I mean, I've got so many skeins of it at home, and I keep picking it up and thinking, oh, I'm going to knit it with this, and then I think, oh no, I'll do something else.
Because you use it in a lot of color work as well, so
Yeah.
you end up using like little bits of it.
Yeah.
So you must have a lot of sort
Bits.
of bits.
Yeah. So I'm going to be able to do something really beautiful soon.
Oh, very nice. I mean, you do beautiful things all
I know,
the
but
time.
I'll do something even more beautiful.
Okay.
Spincycle.
Okay.
Spincycle beautiful.
Spincycle beautiful. I like that. We'll like hashtag Spincycle beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what are you knitting at the moment?
Oh, what am I knitting? So I've got my, oh sorry Peaches. I just woke her up because she had her head on my knitting.
That's fine.
Oh yeah, this is, I have a Hide and Hammer, like one of a kind ice dyed bag from, it's a while ago.
Yeah.
It was a misfit bag because the piece of fabric wasn't quite big enough, so she made,
Oh, I like that though.
she made it, she sort of used the lining to make it long enough. So she didn't sell it, and she gifted it to me instead. It's really nice to be friends with New. We'll get New on here one of these days.
Yeah.
Actually. It doesn't look like much at the moment, but I have the bottom ribbing of my Pressed Flowers Cardigan on the go, which is a 1x1 rib, and I'm using this stunning petrol colorway.
Don't you just love a 1x1 rib?
I do love a 1x1 rib. Well, yeah. Across 315 stitches, these 17 rows are taking me longer than I would like them to.
They do. Rib takes
Yeah.
ages. Is that
So-
forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards?
I did think I'd be done by now. I thought I'd be on a flower by now.
Yeah.
But I started this on a 60 centimeter cable because that's all I had, and it was so scrunched up. And so the other night I was like, this is killing me. Like,
Wait, you
this
bought
is...
some new needles?
I did not.
Oh, all right.
I
Okay.
stole
Oh, right, okay.
the 80 centimeter from a different sweater I was working on. So I actually had this funny little thing going because I was being really like kind of lazy but kind of clever all at the same time. So I was knitting off of the one and onto the other, and on the other end of the needle I was doing the opposite. So I had like two sweaters going at the same time on two needles.
Yeah.
I did think halfway through, I really hope I did this right, and I did. So hi Peaches. So this is like my primary knit at the moment, because we're doing the knit along.
I was going to say you've got until tomorrow night to get.
Yes, in theory, probably while I'm editing this podcast episode, I will keep knitting. I mean, I only have 2 more rows of ribbing, and then I will get into the first flower pattern repeat. And
Peaches.
oh, did I just poke you in the eyeball?
No, she just put it in her mouth.
Oh. So that's what I'm working on. And yeah, the other sweater that I like transferred to the other needle is the Officer Sweater by Max.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which I also kind of just have the ribbing done on. And speaking of like things you don't really like, not the Officer Sweater, but I've got a couple projects that I started last year that I'm just gonna say goodbye to.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't love them enough to like continue, and I think that's okay. You know?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This is, as I said, we had this conversation in the shop today about, you know, are you going to wear it?
Yeah.
If you finish it and you don't like it,
Yeah.
are you going to wear it? No.
Yeah, no, and
So,
what's the point? I mean,
what's the point? Yarn is
and there
not
are
cheap.
no, and there's process knitters who just like knitting things. They don't wear it, and that's fine. You know, we all knit for different reasons. But if you're not loving the process and you're not going to wear it, like go do something else.
Exactly, exactly. I mean,
life's too short.
Yeah, you can put it in the naughty corner and then come back to it a couple of weeks later and then still think, oh no.
Yeah, yeah. My tessellated vest is in that category.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not in love with my color combo in part, and it's just I don't know, it's just tedious.
That's moss stitch. Double.
No,
it's a slip stitch, isn't
mosaic,
it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like an off. It's a tessellated.
Yeah. Hence the name.
Yes, pattern. There's a pattern coming out next week from her, which I think is going to be the tessellated cardigan.
Oh, right.
Based on her newsletter last week. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
I also, I don't know. We'll
That's
see.
more yarn.
It is more yarn. I'd have to do it in different colors. I don't have enough of what I chose.
Yeah.
But the yarn will get recycled for something else. So that isn't a problem.
No.
Yeah. Was there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners, viewers?
What way to discuss?
Well, we don't have to.
No.
Just, if there's anything burning your brain.
No, my brain's burned.
Okay. Well, I think Peaches is being super needy too. And
She
I think,
is, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what's up with her.
No.
We took her on the longest walk yesterday. Went to the New Forest.
Oh, you went up?
Yeah. Went to the New Forest, and she had a nice little adventure in the woods.
Aww.
And she enjoyed it.
We used to go there as a child for picnics on days out.
It was a bit wet to have a picnic anywhere.
Yeah.
I did think. It was like, Peaches actually like fell in the water twice because she thought it was solid ground.
Yes.
And it was just leaves on top of the
I've done
boggy
that.
area.
I've done that myself. On a canal. And I was wearing the most hideous trouser suit. This was back in the 70s. My mother had bought me this trouser suit that she thought was beautiful, and it was red and white crimpling gingham.
Oh.
Okay, so we're talking,
my.
you know, crimpling to start with. And I did have taste in those days that I didn't really like crimpling. And it had sort of short sleeves and gold buttons everywhere. And
Okay.
hideous. And we were on a family day out with some very good friends who had very glamorous daughters.
Okay.
So here I turn up, you know, in this hideous outfit, and we go for a bicycle ride.
Okay.
With my brothers.
Sounds very British.
Yeah. We went for a bicycle ride along the canal, just the children, and I think I had 3 brothers with me at the time, and not the youngest one. And anyway, we got to this canal, and there was a little island in the middle, and they said, "Oh, let's go to that island." So we have to walk across to the island, and they said, "Right, you go first." So I sort of got about 6 steps in and was up to my waist.
Oh no!
Because those leaves were just floating on the top of a very boggy mud.
Oh.
And I thought, all right, okay. At which point everybody was laughing.
Of course they were.
Because I was the youngest.
Yeah.
You know.
Of course that's why they sent you in.
Exactly. And I was very tall, gangly, you know. I think I was about a 12-year-old girl. And at this point, I think somebody said, "Oh, actually, I think we better get her out." So they sort of pulled me out. And we got back to the parents' house, which was a most beautiful barn conversion with soft green carpets.
Oh.
So I'm sort of walking in. I did take my shoes off. Well, I think I lost my shoes in the mud.
Oh no!
And there were muddy footprints across this carpet. And then I had the worst thing was that because the daughters, the very glamorous daughters, were all much shorter than me.
Oh.
I had to borrow their trousers, which came up to sort of halfway up my leg, and spent the rest of the time not good.
Bit uncomfortable.
Bit uncomfortable, not a good look. Funnily enough, I never wore that trouser suit again.
Oh, I can't. I mean,
Yeah. It's hideous.
Well, Peaches was mighty surprised at herself too.
Yeah.
Like, the second time, I thought I was gonna have to go get her because she was sort of like, and I'd put a fleece on her also just to like keep the mud off of her. And so then she just like had a soaking wet, soggy fleece belly, and she wasn't super happy. But
no.
She had a great time, and
Silly dogs.
yeah, silly dogs. But she had a good time. It was a nice little day out. It wasn't raining yesterday.
No, it was beautiful.
Miraculously.
It was beautiful yesterday, and I should have been out in the garden, but I was doing housework. Saturday housework. So, but now I've got a nice, clean, tidy house.
Well, that's nice.
I know, it is.
Have you been cooked dinner tonight?
No, we're having it cooked for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love that.
So, yeah, but I got rid of all the cobwebs. Got that hoover out. Was hoovering the ceiling. Yeah. I mean, I got back from the retreat and it was lovely.
Yeah.
Peter, my husband, had cleaned. He'd done all the tidying and everything, so it was really nice. But then I thought yesterday rather, I thought, actually there's some, you know, when the sun's out,
Yeah.
there's cobwebs.
That's the thing with an old farmhouse, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Things are alive around.
Yeah,
You're
spiders.
surrounded.
I know. And you know, the awful thing about housework is, you know, 2 days later. It's gonna be messy again.
Like as soon as you've cleaned it, it gets messy.
I know,
Especially when you have
dogs.
pets, right?
Yeah.
It's
2 dogs, 3 cats.
Well, I'm gonna do some knitting tonight.
Okay.
I'm gonna get to my flowers.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna knit some more fingers.
okay. On that note,
On my glove.
we're gonna say thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure you like and subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. And yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Nice to see you. Bye.
Bye.